What's up, fam? It's Brian Castrillo. So I watched The Last of Us, episode 7, titled Left Behind. And this was a fun episode. I really enjoyed it. The musical score was fantastic. I was really digging a lot of really cute moments, but let's get into it. So we begin the episode and, they're showing across the winter scene. So we know not much time has passed since last time we saw Joel and Ellie when, remember, Joel got, the shiv stuck into him. And we see, Ellie's having a hard time. She doesn't want to lose Joel, but they're fighting. Joel's saying, get out of here. Go back to my brother. And he's basically pushing her away because he doesn't want her to see him die, or he just wants her to be safe. And you can even see how heartbroken he is. You can see him crying, and she's getting upset. And she runs upstairs because she's frustrated with the situation. Then we get a flashback, and we see Ellie in a point in time before she had to deal with everything that she's dealing with up to this point. And this was when she was sort of in boot camp and she's training. We see her running. When I first saw it, I was thinking of gym class, but it's boot camp. And she's got the headphones on, and one of the bullies came up behind her, grabbed the headphones off of her, and basically just kind of reminded her that your friend Riley isn't here anymore, so what are you going to do about it? Eventually, she punches her in the face, and she gets pulled into the commanding officer, Captain Kwong's office, and he talks to her, and he basically gives her a choice. He goes to her and says, after saying, you're smart, and I really like you, but I want to give you a choice. Like, you can keep going down the road you're going, where you're basically going to have a shit life, or you can swallow your pride and we can go forward and you can become an officer and you can have the good life. I know this is in you. You're a great leader. Basically giving her praise, but he put the decision in her hand. He basically let her make that decision. And I think that is part of what is becoming of what Ellie is today. Now, after this, we see Ellie, she goes back into her room. She's getting ready to, go to sleep. And you see, they're looking through the room. You see the Mortal Kombat poster and different other kind of cool pop culture stuff throughout the room. She goes to sleep. And then you see the window open and, she gets grabbed by, and I'm thinking it's that bully, but it's her friend Riley who's been gone. Now, Ellie thought she was dead. She's been gone a long time. But we find out that she had actually joined the Fireflies. And then they're discussing about, why did you do this? And eventually she says, you're going to come with me. You're going to initially say no, but then you're going to say yes. And I'm going to give you the best night of your life. After a little bit of arguing, they take off. They're going through the town. They go up in a building, and there is an interesting part. They find this dead guy who basically, he must have, decided to kill himself because he had the pills, he had the alcohol. And I was thinking, this must be where, Ellie gets bit. But eventually they take the alcohol. But the dead guy, he ends up falling through the ground, and they just kind of laugh about it. And this was kind of cute because they're basically having a fun time together. And probably the last time she really had any type of enjoyment, because Riley is basically setting her up for like this perfect date. And she really went through a lot to really plan this and kind of, go through just making everything perfect. And it was really kind of cute. She ends up bringing her to a mall, and Ellie's thinking like, wasn't that place shut down and sealed up with, infected in it? And she's like, and her friend Riley is like, well, if it was, if it was sealed, then why are we able to get into it? And so she brings her into this mall, and this moment I'm kind of getting nervous because they're going through like a lot of dark areas, but she eventually says, go through this area and tell me when you're there. And that's when Riley flips on the lights, and you see the lights coming, in stages throughout the mall. And it's truly this magical moment. You see the look in Riley's eyes because Bella Ramsey just played, that scene was fantastic. you could tell this was like the first time she has ever done this. And then she sees the escalator, and I thought that was like kind of the cutest moment where she was so excited to about, you know, the moving stairs. And because she's never seen this before. This is Ellie has not been, she has not seen a lot of the, you know, the things that we take for granted, the joys, and this was really a truly a magical moment. And Riley's talking about, I want to show you the four wonders of the mall. And again, they're going like the music that's going through this episode is fantastic. I was really enjoying it. But you know, they're going through the four wonders of the mall, and then they come across this carousel, and you know, they're riding on it. And of course, this brings me back to Fear the Walking Dead with Grace and Morgan, with that cute moment as well. And you're watching Ellie just kind of look at Riley. She's looking up to her. You can tell that she likes her. It's like this little crush that she has. But you know, they're riding on it. Then all of a sudden it stops, and then they go find one of those photo booths where, you know, you put them in, because she magically, she had $5. And they're taking these photos, and they're like, you know, taking different prints, the bunny ears, and it was just absolutely adorable. It was just a really cute moment. And you know, she ends up keeping the photos. Ellie does, even though they didn't come out that great. But then she brings her, she's bringing her through the mall, and they come across a Victoria's Secret. This was funny. You know, Riley's like talking about, I think at this point she's kind of testing the water, because you can tell Riley had a crush on her, even though like they were best friends. She's like laughing, and she's like, I'm imagining like what you would look like, or you wearing this outfit. And I mean, you know, Victoria's Secrets, you can kind of guess what's in the outfits they have. And Ellie's like, shut up. And it was just a fun, cute moment. But then when Riley kind of walks off a little bit, she goes back to the window, and she's looking in it, and just kind of a funny moment. You can kind of think about what's going through her mind at this time. But then my favorite part, she brings her to the arcade, and and it, like the lights on there, this is magic, because she brings her right to, after, you know, getting money and everything, she brings her to Mortal Kombat, which is so cool, because, you know, the poster was in her room, and you can tell that she wanted to give Ellie like this moment that she's never had. She knows she liked Mortal Kombat, and she wanted to basically make this night perfect. This was sort of her kind of date night. But then as they're playing, you know, they're like, yeah, like they're fighting. And of course, if you ever played Mortal Kombat on an arcade game, it's a lot of button mashing. So there's a lot of noise being made. And you see this walker, I'm calling it a walker, because, you know, I got The Walking Dead in my mind. But the one thing about the two shows is that the special effects, the SFX makeup that goes into both shows has been fantastic. But when you look at this zombie, the infected that's up against the wall, you see the cordyceps kind of has him, you know, up against the wall, kind of like stuck to the wall, whatever. But then he wakes up, and you're like, oh shit, here we go. But at this moment, you know, he's not coming right away. You just see him wake up, and they're kind of you know, they're still playing, they're having this fun time. And at this point, she gives her the pun book. Remember the pun book where she was like telling all the funny puns to, you know, Joel? We see where that came from. But then Ellie finds the bombs. Now, if you go back to this is where she kind of starts getting upset with Riley, because she knows the Fireflies were bombing them, and this is upsetting to Ellie. She's like, were you going to stop them? Were you even thinking about me? And they get into this big old fight. Ellie kind of storms off, but then you hear in the background some screaming. She goes back, and it's this thing that she had set up. Riley did this whole kind of date thing perfect. And she's in this Halloween store, and that's basically what it was. So she was okay at this point. And they get on there. they put on these rubber masks. One is a clown, one is a werewolf, and they're dancing up there, just enjoying life. It was just this really cute moment. They start dancing, and then they eventually have their first kiss, which was just kind of a cute moment. But then you knew it was coming. The zombies come in, the infected, and he starts attacking them. It doesn't look at first that, the zombie got him, because they eventually take him out, but they were both bit. So now that we know that they're both infected. But what I really liked about it is after that, when they're sitting down, you see Ellie. She's going through a lot of anger because she has not really dealt with a lot of loss. If you go back to when I mentioned how they found that dead guy, one of the things that Ellie mentioned to Riley is like, this is the first time you saw a dead body, and and then Ellie remembers right away, oh, that's right, your parents. So we know that Riley has had some loss in her life, where Ellie at this point has not experienced that. And Ellie is going through a lot of anger. She starts smashing the glass where they were standing on dancing, and you see Riley just kind of sitting back. She's crying, and she's heartbroken. But then they have this conversation where she's telling her, like, we have choices, kind of like Captain Kwong did, but we could either just kind of give up, or whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we can enjoy what we have left of our normal life. And she basically is kind of convincing her to never give up no matter what. And I think this was a powerful conversation, because then we go back to her and Joel, and then she realizes that, this could be what if I lose Joel, and I don't want to do that. Now, during that conversation, you see, Ellie kind of hold up, she's got her arm around her, they're holding hands. But at the moment we go back to her and Joel, she realizes that she doesn't want to lose that moment. So she's running around the house. She's looking for basically a needle and a thread, which she finds, and she starts, trying to sew Joel up, and Joel's crying. Then they start holding hands. And I kind of felt that was really powerful, because I think at this moment is when they both realize how much they mean to each other, and they're seeing each other kind of like in that father-daughter relationship, and basically just realizing that, in this world that we live in now, like, we may not have somebody tomorrow. Tomorrow is never promised. And so she ends up sewing them up together, and that's kind of the end of it. But what I wanted to know, and I hope we come back and visit that scene where Ellie and Riley were, sitting down in the mall, because I want to see what happened next. I wanted to see, like, I want the scene with Riley, and when that transpired. But overall, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like really, I wasn't on edge or anything like that. It was just an episode that I could just sit back and enjoy. The musical score was great. It was a really cute and fun episode, but we learned a lot about Ellie and how she became who she is today. And I think that's, now that we kind of really understand her character, I think that's going to help us understand in these next couple of episodes why she is the way she is, and how she starts developing. This is great character development. I'm glad we got this flashback, but I still want that scene of either with Riley in the moment. Like, I need to know why Ellie is, why is she immune? What happened with Riley? I want that moment. But what did you guys think about this episode? I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, what you thought about the episode, what you want to see going forward. What was your favorite scene in this? For me, my favorite scene in this the most powerful scene was Ellie and Riley, having that conversation after realizing they got bit. But my favorite scene was that moment she turned on the lights and just the joy in Ellie's face when she was on an escalator for the first time. That was my favorite scene. How about yours? But anyways, as always, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you watching this channel. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week.